Welcome to r/Askreddit, where people answer the question, what is your craziest coworker experience? And one of these people actually has a boss that shows up to work drunk daily. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. I worked in a certain touring exhibition last summer. It is not Potter for your interest, and of 200 people who were applying for jobs, 20 of us got the job. We are all close-knit and had a love for the exhibit content, and being all genuinely interesting people made us a family, bar one woman. She thought she was the world's biggest star for having a 3-second cameo on Game of Thrones, and sent harassing messages and calls to many of us. She sexually harassed a lovely guy on the shop team who had no interest. She undermined the bosses constantly, talked back, was rude to customers. When she thought we talked about her behind her back, she got defensive and spiteful. We didn't. One day she got knocked back for good by the shop guy, and for some reason she decided to take it out on me. She started slabbering about me around to every other coworker, but never to my face. She called me a white snake. Now I am albino and my hair color got me seriously bullied in school along the vein of her insults, so her name calling was very hurtful. I had enough and took it to HR, and she was fired for her actions. I could go on, but she does not deserve any more thought. And guys, if you ever had any awful coworkers, please let us know about your experiences/stories in the comments. User Lufernal in the comments posted this story. I worked with a guy who would interrupt any conversation to talk about anything as if he was the expert. And I don't use anything as a hyperbole. He truly had something to say about anything, including things he had never heard of or obviously did not know much about. When the subject being discussed was something in the category of things he did not know much about, he would slowly steer the conversation away from the original discussion to something he would like to talk about at the moment. It was both amazing and the most annoying thing I had ever had to deal with. He was like that Wikipedia game where you start with Star Wars and somehow end up on LGBTQ+ struggles. Not to mention the conversation was basically 98% of him just talking non-stop. Everybody else was way too polite and against conflict to say anything, including me, so most people just tried to stay away from him, but he would follow people around. I eventually left, but I even remember having a nightmare where he was the best man at my wedding. I gotta say guys, I absolutely know what this guy is talking about. I really don't like it when people pretend to know about everything and then the conversation pretty much goes nowhere. I had a supervisor in the past that was pretty much like that, and it was absolutely unbearable. Have you ever had to deal with a person like that in your work life? Let us know in the comments. And the next one was posted by user RedTiger13. His name was Dan. Dan was 37, working at a dead-end job as a lab specimen processor in a windowless room for 9 hours a day. He ate only Burger King, but without the lettuce because that is rabbit food. He drank literally a gallon of Mountain Dew a day and was confused as to why people were horrified by that. "There's water in it," he would say. Apparently, if he ate corn, he would vomit and have to go to the hospital. He would tell me he firmly believed that man and dinosaur roamed the earth at the same time, along with many other theories that came from his gut. One day we got into a political argument before the 2016 election where he said, "If Bernie Sanders is elected president, there will be a civil war. And I will not hesitate to kill you and your family." Dan was fired. I got out of there as soon as I could. Don't be like Dan. That is, at least in my opinion, the #1 rule anyway. Don't discuss politics at your workplace. Give me some star emojis in the comments if you agree. The next one was posted by user Watch the Boom. One of my favorite things about being in the military was that your pre-military status did not matter. Everyone wears the same uniform and you would never know if your favorite military leader came from privilege or squalor. The uniform, for all of its drawbacks, is an objectively effective unifier. It levels the playing field. Looking the same as everyone else challenged me to ensure that my work ethic and ideas created opportunities, not some predetermined status. I had a peer who was better than all of that. He did not do the work unless it interested him, we did not do interesting things, and constantly complained that our work was below him. On more than one occasion, he tried to pay for others to do his work for him. His entire point of being in the military was to prove to his father that he could earn something, and sought to accomplish that by claiming he had already earned it. F that guy. And I gotta say guys, my motto when it comes to working is, if you don't like it and if you cannot 100% invest yourself in it, then don't do it. However, I am very well aware that not everybody has the luxury or is able to really live that motto. All I'm saying is, I just don't really like when people are not really invested in something and then the others have to essentially work twice as hard just because one guy is not taking it seriously. And the next one was posted by user Redwood Softboy. Back when I worked at a restaurant, I was friends with the bartender, chill dude right up until they made him manager, and that small amount of power and increase in pressure made him so angry all the time. He screamed at me that I was shit at my job because I did not do a thing that I've never been asked to do before. He made me miss my last bus so I could not get home. It was pitch black outside and I cried on the bench outside the restaurant. Worst working day and worst coworker. It took me a long time to get over that, and I realized I was not a crap worker. He was just stressed and did not know how to handle it, I suppose. The next one was posted by user Wild Little Moonchild. My current supervisor and head supervisor, we work in the MRDD field. I got a call one Tuesday morning and my boss was slurring her words and telling me to bring her hangover food. I show up about 20 minutes before my scheduled shift, and when I walked in, she could not stand up straight and all you could smell was alcohol. Our head supervisor leaves and she fully confesses that she was absolutely trashed and that she had been drinking from 9 PM Monday night to Tuesday at 12 PM with our head supervisor on the clock. She then proceeded to sleep and leave me to care for 4 individuals for 8 hours while she was still on the clock. That following Thursday I show up to work again and she got on my face and again it smelled like a bar. She told me that if I told anyone I would lose my job and license. That weekend she tried to force me to work a 3 p to 4 am shift because someone had a fever and could not come in. When I told her that I was not required to cover anything outside of my shift without prior consent, she screamed again in my face and told me to just leave. I called my head supervisor and I have not heard anything still. 2 weeks later I ended up breaking my foot on my weekend off and I called her from the hospital Sunday afternoon telling her I have to have the next 48 hours off to somewhat start the healing process, and she refused that and put me on light duty. I show up Monday afternoon, 26 hours after I got the proper medical care for my foot, and said something about my foot hurting, and she told me, "Well, a chunky girl of your size cannot carry your own weight." I'm not small, but I'm happy where I am, and my weight has nothing to do with the fact that I had broken a bone less than 48 hours ago and only 24 hours with medical care, and she then proceeded to leave me alone with a seizure patient who put herself on the floor and I had to pick her up. She came back in around 9:30 PM to put them into bed and she was drinking again. So obviously guys, a drunk boss is already horrible enough, but it seems like OP is essentially taking care of older people in his job. So having a supervisor that actually drinks while at work and while caring about older people is really not okay if you ask me. Did you ever have any drunk supervisors or bosses? Let us know in the comments. And while you're at it, please don't forget to like the video if you enjoy my content. Thank you so much. The next one was posted by user The Knights of Liz. No contest, it was the literal crackhead I worked with for 4 months that was also secretly living in the office and being completely nonsensical when he was actually working. We found a mattress folded up in the warehouse after he was let go, and an actual brand new crack pipe with a price tag on it to boot squirreled away back there. He and his family, not just him living in the office, left discarded food everywhere, like pizza crusts in the toilet brush holder in the bathroom, what even, and they left hair in the sink in the bathroom, as they were obviously bathing in there too, as we had no actual bathing facilities in the office. One day during his tenure, he sent an email saying his alarm did not go off and he would be in at X time, which kept getting moved back later and later. He eventually showed up at 4:40 PM and we closed at 5 PM. See comment above about secretly living in the office. There is so much more I could go into. It was a wild 4 months, that's for sure. Edit, this blew up in a way I did not anticipate, and I've gotten a few responses that I am making this up, but let me tell you, I really wish that I were. His girlfriend was always around at work and she would move in a way that you would absolutely never see her face. We thought maybe she had a warrant out for her arrest or something. I think only one of us saw her actual face, and she would also sit behind the warehouse bay door in their Nissan Altima with it running all day for the AC when she was not back there with him. He wanted us to hire her to help him, which was not happening. Our warehouse area was concrete flooring, which did not get cleaned often at all, and she would walk around back there barefoot. As mentioned before, he was completely nonsensical at work as well. He suggested to my coworker, who scans our old documents to PDF via a feeder on our copier, of course, that she should take a picture of each page with her cell phone and do it that way. I got multiple emails from him that made no sense at all, and I eventually had to just forward some to my boss so he could see what was going on. It was a sad situation, but also a WTF situation for the rest of us. He brought his girlfriend to the interview and asked if she could sit on it because it was so hot outside. Now, if we did not have a Walmart and a huge shopping center within spitting distance, that might have made sense, but that was pretty unprofessional and they still hired him. All we did was lose money by employing him. He worked on one pro bono job we did and managed to F that up as well. This was at an engineering firm, by the way. And the next one was posted by user SysToro and is titled, "I worked at Starbucks for a year, one of the very worst years of my life, and while I was there, I had a coworker named Eric. I was at the till the day Eric came in with his resume, and there under his name he had typed Architect of Imagination. Eric was an aspiring writer, but he had trouble stringing a sentence together. He could not be on the machine because he could not remember how to use it or how any single drink was made. He could not be a support role because he had no way of predicting or understanding what anyone else on the floor needed or even was saying. He could not be on the register because he could not mark a cup, and even our most patient customers would inevitably raise their voices at his incompetence. Reliably, he would genuinely look like he was about to cry. I was so torn between rage and pity. He made a terrible job just so much harder, but he was just so breathtakingly, pitifully, shockingly dumb. I have never met anyone like him before or since. One night I was thinking about something particularly vicious I had said in response to something particularly baffling Eric had done, and found myself wondering about his life outside of our store. Was the world scary and confusing to Eric? Did it seem like life was just happening to him? I imagined him standing in traffic, looking vaguely surprised and confused, forgetting how he had gotten there. I looked him up on Facebook and was pretty disturbed by what I found. Eric did not look awkward or scared on Facebook, he looked stylish, suave. He had product in his hair, beautiful women in expensive looking clothes smiled in his photos. Several posted on his wall expressing what a good time they had had with him recently, often citing a writing sesh. It felt like I was on a different plane, I felt like I was having a stroke. So then my question became, who is Eric and who is scamming whom? The popular theory in the store was that Eric was essentially a method actor doing research for a book or script. I came close to asking him about it a few times, but I was so afraid that I was wrong. I imagine myself over and over asking, are you a method actor? Or are you really and truly this stupid? It just was not something I could bring myself to risk. I wonder about him all the time and actually who he might be terrorizing today. And the next one was posted by user Inuyasha. My coworker likes to initiate conversations and then does long pauses where you go to say something back, then he cuts you off and keeps talking. He has entire conversations almost entirely by himself. He also likes to make changes to my paperwork before it is turned in. He ends up riddled with spelling mistakes while he tries to make the content look smarter. Fortunately, it is all electronically stamped with who made revisions. And guys, I've actually heard in the past that people who don't really let you speak in a conversation actually have very bad social anxiety and they have a problem with self-esteem. Let me know in the comments if you have ever heard about that as well, or maybe I have just been imagining things. And the next one was posted by user Melissa Crown. Context: I work in a hospital as a nurse's aide and my department focuses on transporting patients around the facility for tests and room changes. I work night shift and this person started their shift at 6 AM. There was this lady I worked with that just had the nastiest attitude. Normally I can get along with most folks, but this person just brought the whole room down with negative vibes. Nothing was ever good and she always had bad shifts. One thing she did that upset a lot of people was take patients down for x-rays and leave them down there to return to our office. The big thing to remember here is that even the lengthiest x-rays take maybe 10 minutes at the very most, 2 to 5 on average for the scans. Every morning we got x-rays to do and I had to send her back down to return patients to their rooms after the x-ray technicians called right as she got back to our office. The instances of leaving patients were common, so I informed my boss several times in person and email. Apparently she had an attitude with every other department we worked with and never informed nurses that we were moving their patients. This is a big no-no when meds and vital signs need to be done. One day she had abandoned a patient in the ER waiting room when they were waiting for a ride home and told no one, so security had found a patient just sitting alone for 15 to 30 minutes without supervision. It took this and a year of recorded evidence for this person to finally get fired. When that happened, it is like a dark cloud lifted and a lot of people were relieved. Oh, and she tried to get various employees around the facility to sign a form to argue against her case. One person signed. And the next one was posted by user JelloJock. My worst coworker was one I worked with when I was a cashier at Walmart. She approached me and asked me to cash out her paycheck. I was still new at the job and never got training on how to do that function. She was sympathetic, so she walked me through how to do it. Transaction over and done, I go on about my day. I get called back a couple of days later by my managers and they circled me in an office and accused me of stealing. After tears, videotapes and telling them what happened, they told me that apparently this coworker of mine had stolen not only from me but several other people that day as well. They just wanted to confirm that I was not in on the deal. F Walmart and F that woman for almost getting me fired. And the next one was posted by user Throwaway Finn. I was a Walmart cashier and some young adults, I checked them out. They came back and said I shorted them $20. I said, I don't think I did. My drawers were always balanced to the penny. They insisted I shortchanged them $20. Giving them the benefit of the doubt because damn, I've been shortchanged before and maybe I really did. I'm not impervious to mistakes, so I called my CSM over, described the situation and said I would like to drop my drawer and have her counted. Now the young adults are all, it's no big deal, we don't want to be any trouble or waste any time. And of course you know the ending, those two guys were working a con on me, or trying to. CSM counted my drawer and it balanced to the penny. The conman left and my CSM said I did the right thing. I was right, I did not shortchange those bastards. Your story about the girl conning you with cashing the check reminded me of those dudes trying to con me. Sorry she got the best of you. The next one was posted by Sirnando138. I hired a cook on a good recommendation. He was just fine the first 2 weeks. Then I noticed food going missing, then supplies started going missing, then a customer told me that he had been adding auto 30% tips his food purchases. When I looked at the books, I saw that he had been adding 30% tips to all the credit card sales, and the cash rings were off from what should have been sold. I fired him that day. The next day he came in and apologized, said he was on drugs and was going to rehab. I wished him well, then the next day he tried to break in after closing and was caught. What an idiot. And the next one was posted by user Amelia Denise. I worked in childcare and they had hired a new assistant/trainee teacher for my room. Each room has 2 teachers. She just constantly argued about the dumbest stuff and always tried to argue with me about both company and state childcare policies because that's dumb. Also was late every day her first week there. It all just started adding up until I was changing diapers and she was holding a 2-year-old child on her lap. I see a child biting another child and say, "You need to go help them," as I have a child in the middle of a very explosive poopy diaper, change up on the changing table and cannot leave him there obviously. She does not get up, I repeat it and she says, "Well, I have this kid on my lap." So I say, "Take him off your lap." She responds, "He's strong." Like this grown-ass adult is unable to move a 2-year-old off her lap because of some weird super strength. And then the child bites the other child again, and at that point I am mad and tell her to go get up and help them now. She then proceeds to say, "So what? I have to watch these 4 kids while you just have one up on the table." Like I am somehow supposed to have multiple children on the table at once to make her job of sitting on the floor, making sure kids don't get bit twice in a row easier, and our ratios were always 4-1 anyways. I finished my diaper change, stuck my head out the door to my supervisor and told her, "Get this lady out of my room." And they did after and wrote her up after reviewing the footage of the incident. She was fired for no call, no showing the next week. I've worked with a lot of idiots in childcare, but she was so bad in such a short amount of time. And the next one was posted by user Bobby Sanchoas. I've worked a lot of factories, but one I worked at was mainly for felons. The pay you complete crap and work you so hard it tears your body and mind up. I just graduated high school and it was my second factory, so I did not know any better. One guy I work with, we nicknamed Big Matt since we already had another Matt. Well, Big Matt was a big fan of crystal and steroids, so the dude was absolutely jacked, but this 35-year-old still lived with his mom. He said it had to do with him being a kid and walking in on her being assaulted, and ever since then he never wanted to leave her alone. At the time I thought, wow, that would explain the substance abuse. He just wants to be strong to protect her. Well, I was a damn idiot. 2 months later, Big Matt and 2 coworkers did not show up, so I asked the supervisor what happened, but he did not know either. Next day, one of the coworkers came in and told us that all 3 had been arrested because after buying an O of weed, Big Matt's mom called the cops on them, so before the cops showed up, Big Matt, a 6-foot-some-odd-inch buff meth head, beat his mother with an inch of her life for calling the cops on him. Next day I looked him up and sure enough he was booked in a local prison. Suppose that has to be the worst coworker out of all the ones I've faced. And guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.